We've got a big shift coming to the weather very soon, as warmer than average temperatures are going to turn to cooler than average temperatures, and it could bring a large winter storm system with it to make that change. In this video, I've got the full no-nonsense approach, and we're going to take a look at different models to see what might be coming in the days ahead. Here we go. Let's start out with a weather bell map here. We're looking at precipitation type and rate. You can get links to these maps in the description with a free trial there, but here we go. Let's look at that pattern overview, which I always love to start on out with here. As we've got a lot of snowfall in the Mountain West, the Four Corners here, as we've still got that southerly flow left over from our California atmospheric river at this midweek time frame. This is Wednesday evening as I film this video. Some showers also starting to get going out over the plains, and that's as this new low pressure system that's going to be over North Dakota by Thursday morning. It's going to be bringing showers, maybe even some storms over parts of the Midwest as we head through our Thursday. Snow wrapping around and kind of interacting with a new little weak system hitting California there and bringing a little bit more in the way of some heavier snowfall there into parts of Nevada, Utah, surrounding areas as we go through our Thursday. You can see that moving on through into the Four Corners high elevations at that point. But as we go into our late Thursday afternoon, we will be watching the southerly flow associated with that upper Midwest low. Could that bring a few showers and storms? Some of them could be severe over parts of Illinois, Wisconsin especially. Not out of the question. We'll see that wrap around snow continuing over parts of the Dakotas, and eventually we'll see snow wrap around into Minnesota and far northern Wisconsin and the UP of Michigan. But we're going to see a new low pressure system. Obviously, this is one of those weak systems that I was just talking about being in the Mountain West. That kind of carries a little bit of some rainfall eastward, and as we head into this weekend, this is Saturday around the middle of the afternoon, looking like some rain will be spread out, especially on back into the mid-south, but some parts of the Ohio Valley and eastern United States getting some showers as well. You can see how that heads over through other areas of the southeast into our Sunday. And then I think the big storm that we're looking at that could bring that major pattern change begins forming as we head towards Sunday, moving out of the Four Corners with a snowy side there, moving through parts of the south central plains there, as we have that low stationed over parts of northern Mississippi. And then we've also got that severe side that could sprout on up if this low tracks like so far enough north of the Gulf Coast to where we could see severe weather on that southern side with gusty winds and showers. And then of course we would also be watching the snowy side, in which you can see there are those blues that travel all the way on up through the interior New England zones there. But again, this is beginning to turn into a little bit more of a larger signal, and we're beginning to kind of get into that timing aspect of this. But it does look like the storm will be degrading the ridge, and we will be seeing some cooler than average air surging on in behind it. Now, of course, with the current storm system that we have, let's dissect this one first, the one that's over the upper Midwest as we go into our Thursday. We do have a level 1 severe weather risk over far east central Iowa, northwestern parts of Illinois, and then on down into far south central Wisconsin here. And this will be an all-hazard threat, so we're looking at the potential for a few brief weak spin-up tornadoes, maybe some hail up to around a quarter-inch in diameter there. And then we would also be watching the potential for some gusty winds around 60 miles per hour. Part of what's fueling this is these record high temperatures surging into the 50s and 60s over parts of Iowa. Look at this. We've got temperatures moving into the 40s and 50s over a lot of this region in the upper Midwest here. So this is really conducive as the temperatures in that severe weather potential zone well into the 50-degree range. And we will have just enough moisture and instability to support this. And what I mean by just enough is literally barely crossing that severe threshold. And that's why this is just a marginal risk. Because again, we just don't have really the surface ingredients in place to support a big event. As we make our way towards the midday time frame here, I want to zoom out a little bit and show you what's going on. That rain that you experience in the morning over parts of Wisconsin, northern parts of Illinois, that's the warm front moving on through with some heavier showers, maybe some rumbles of thunder. But the cold front will be back over here into parts of South Dakota and eastern Nebraska in the midday time frame. Between those two, we've got warm air advecting northward here. Dew points will be, marginalized and maybe in the 50s at this point, but that's just enough to support some severe weather here. And of course, you need dew points in the 60s and 70s for the real deal, but I do think we will get a couple of supercells here over parts of far northern Illinois. Could these move towards Chicago as the sun sets or just thereafter into our Thursday evening? Yes. We'll watch maybe a wind potential there with a maybe secondary line that the HRRR is picking up on there in western Wisconsin there as we make our way, say, 7, 8, 9 o'clock central time. So we'll be watching this whole zone from southeast Minnesota and eastern Iowa, and then on over there into parts of northern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, maybe even just off Lake Michigan there as those storms travel over it into the midnight hour. But overall, I do think this event is going to be a pretty tame one, just given the fact that we don't have many resources for these storms to work with. Of course, there's that snowfall through Friday afternoon with foot plus totals in some of the highest elevations of the Four Corners, but with that low moving over the north central plains, we'll also watch the snow swath that we get from Montana and northern parts of North Dakota and Minnesota there. 1 to 3 inches in northern Minnesota and a lot of parts of northern North Dakota and Montana as well. Some spots, though, in northeast Montana and northwest North Dakota picking up closer to 5 inches of snowfall locally there. What we're also watching with the storm, we do have wind advisories up over a good chunk of Missouri as we make our way through the day of Thursday especially. You can see those winds picking up from the south as the day goes on. Those greens, those lighter green shades indicating maybe 40, 45 mile per hour gusts in that zone I circled. Some traveling around on the backside of the storm as well. So could we see a little bit in the way of blowing snow on the cooler side of the system up there into Montana and North Dakota? Certainly so. You can see the winds really overall die off unless you're right off the lakes, though, as the system continues heading eastward. Now, in terms of the temperature pattern as we make our way into this weekend, here's your daily highs along with those records that we have. Anything in those boxes on your screen is where we have record highs. We'll see those highs making their way on up close to 50 just above that over a lot of this region here in the Great Lakes. In fact, it's going to be near 60 in places like Detroit as we go in towards our Friday. As we head towards Saturday, look at this, the cold front beginning to sag southward, which means parts of the mid-Atlantic and the southern New England are going to be in the cooler, or the warmer zone, I should say, just ahead of it there. But you can see how by the time we go to Sunday, the warmer temperatures are mostly confined into the south central United States, but this is a really big warm-up that we're seeing across the country for the time being. And then again, notice we've still got that warm air in place over the south, which is why our big storm system that could come into next week could be very interesting. By the way, I have 2 extra channels. One's ONW Beyond, where I occasionally post some extra weather content. The other one, I'll probably be posting some cloud content on ONW Photo. Subscribe to both of those links in the description. Now on over to our GEFS ensemble. This is tied in with the GFS model here, just showing you the 24-hour precipitation zones, and this is with, a collection of so many model members here, and they're agreeing that as we make our way towards, say, the Friday through Saturday morning time frame here, this is where the best chance for precipitation is going to be, and maybe a tenth to a quarter of an inch of precip there over parts of, say, the southwest Ohio Valley back on over into the southern Midwest region, into the south central. But as this front kind of stalls on out and lingers around, we've got this area of moisture that'll set on up there over especially parts of East Texas on over to Tennessee. While that's there, though, we've got new precipitation into our early Sunday morning, trying to make its way from late Saturday into Sunday morning into the Four Corners. And notice how those two systems kind of combine. And again, this is kind of as we're beginning to see that setup with the low pressure system into our Sunday and then towards Monday of next week. And that's when our big storm signal is showing up. So let's talk about that particular storm here. Using the Euro model, here's what it's showing as we make our way. Monday at 1 a.m., this is what the radar could look like. This is 1 a.m. Eastern, so 12 in the morning Central Time. Snowfall may be making its way in a stripe there from parts of Oklahoma, southern Kansas, then trying to move through the Midwest as that jet stream takes a dip like so. The southern end of the storm would be subject to seeing some showers and storms. Some of those could be severe, especially closer to the Gulf Coast at the beginning of the storm's lifespan Sunday night and into our Monday. Then this continues heading eastward, and I do think overall the snowfall would be making its way through the interior New England as we make our way through Monday onward, and then it kind of wraps on up from there. But here's your chance of convective available potential energy of 500 joules per kilogram or higher. This is essentially just saying modest storm energy in place. There is a good 50+% chance that as we go through our Sunday afternoon, that low could bring just enough storm energy there to southeast Texas and parts of Louisiana to support either an ongoing threat from late Saturday night or a new threat likely developing through the day, again, late Sunday and into our Monday here as that cold front continues eastward. It looks like the storm will begin running out of energy to use just due to cooler air as it heads eastward, but I think the chance for severe weather will exist, especially close to the Gulf Coast from Texas on over to at least Alabama as it looks right now. Looking at that collection of models for snowfall now, you can see with the low pressure here on those ensemble guidances, what we're looking at with the EPS, which is your European ensembles here. Look at the snowfall totals, a solid stripe of maybe 2 to 4 inches of snow there over the south central plains from the panhandle of Texas through Oklahoma on over there into Missouri. And then look at that secondary zone there as that tracks on up through interior New England. Some really hefty totals there, especially through the interior parts of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. If the low tracks further south, it would create again, a little bit more of a southern snow track, but right now with the current setup, it does send that further inland from places like New York City, Boston, the major metros for the highest snow totals at least. But again, that's subject to change. Now looking at the ensembles for temperature anomalies, notice we're looking at a lot of ensembles because that's the collection of models we want to kind of show averages and overall trends. As we head towards, say, Sunday, February 11th, We've got this cooler than average air sitting over the western parts of the United States. Meanwhile, though, over the eastern United States, we've got warmer than average air, and that's that setup for that low to progress eastward. By the time we're going through Monday the 12th into February 13th or Tuesday, look at how that cooler air just surges eastward with a cold front there behind this system. This looks pretty much showing us that we're going to have a low, first of all, and it's also indicating that we're going to have cooler than average air move on in. Could this mean that we'll have a more favorable pattern lingering around towards mid to late month for snowstorms to potentially move in? Yes, this is what I've been talking about for a while. We need this setup to help us get the chance for snow across the country. Notice by the time we go towards the end of next week, still looking on average cooler over a lot of the eastern United States. Thanks so much again for watching this forecast. That's it for this one, but please hit that subscribe button. Weather Bell Maps free trial link in the description. Really recommend you checking out the channels shown on the screen right now. And here's the next 7 days of snowfall with a Weather Bell map. If you want to get these, again, the link is in that description because they look pretty darn cool, don't they?